Tesla hourly, you can see this doji just hanging out there. I'm going to explain why this is important. What it did was it set a range for us. Now, today is the first day that we stayed in that range. If we look over the past 6 trading days, we can see the hourly bars and how we've broken every single one, just forming a flag or some other orb, some other kind of pattern that's breaking. And today we finally stopped doing that. We formed this long-legged doji, and we know that long-legged dojis are signs of uncertainty. So now what? Make sure you subscribe to this channel and click all notifications. What we go over here is extremely timely. As well, make sure you get a copy of the newsletter down below, especially for tomorrow's when I walk through the bear ETFs. Now, this is not enough. We have the MACD crossing up for the first time. So we have the convergence pointing up. Now, what I like about this is I like the way we're pointing up and I like the level that I'm seeing. So in other words, we're right on that line. But if you take a look from this point over, which puts you at roughly 119, we're right in line with the MACD down here at 112. So this is what you refer to as a positive divergence. In other words, the signal is ahead of the direction that we're looking for. The stock is lower here versus here. So you have a positive divergence there. Now, between that, the hourly, and this huge green bar of buying that is now above every other red bar. In 2 years, you have not had this much buying as much as you had today. That's denoted by the orange line down here. You can see the top over here. And something obviously happened in December 2020. It's probably the stock split. So we have all these bars that had those hourly lower lows that all of a sudden stop. We form a doji. Dojis are what? They are uncertainty bars. And if we know that they're uncertainty bars, they're worth paying attention to. Now, this is where it gets tricky. We have nothing technical here. We have some hourly readings. We have a MACD hourly reading. We have that huge volume spike. But until this bar makes a final decision on what it's going to do, 116.27, we really don't know. It could absolutely roll over again. We could see another wave of selling come in towards the end of the year. I think we're a little exhausted. And I think that I'm not suggesting that we're heading up to new highs, but if you take a look at the beginning of December to now, and you realize that we're down about 45%, and every single hourly bar for the past 7 days has just been an opportunity to short. At some point, it just gets simply too easy, as I like to say. When you start making money on the short side and it just gets way too easy, there's usually some lesson out there that's going to humble us. Put the brakes on today. I did close my short on Tesla, and I'm going to watch this tomorrow and see how we act on that 116. I'm not looking for much, but we know that traders hope. And right now they're going in with a whole bunch of hope that this pattern is going to continue. The day that it doesn't, it might only be something like this, where you go from 175 up to 185 before it heads back down. That we don't know. But we do know that we have a indecisive bar and some indicators that are glowing that there is the potential of a bottom being formed, at least in the very short term. We're beginning to see the beginning signs of that. Please comment below. It's why I'm spending so much time on Tesla. I was asked about it and asked specifically in the comments about what I think is going to happen over the next couple days, especially since we've been reviewing it since about 200 on the short side, if you have been following along. Now, this is where the metal meets the road. So what do I mean by that? This looks like one giant pendant. I really wish it did not look like one giant pendant, but it does. Kind of your wonky flagpole. Here's your rising wedge. I have a saying in Alpha Chasers, rising wedges lead to what? Tears. And that's exactly what's happening here. Now, the larger problem with this, and what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, can we see a bounce in Tesla and the Nasdaq still go lower? There's nobody that is a technician that's going to look at this chart and say that this is going to hold in here. And what is more troubling, you can see from the purple line, but this number actually here, this particular close is 260.49. This close was 260.10. We have not had a close that has been on that level until we go back all the way to July 2020. Now, I know people will say I'm splitting hairs. I'm not. It could have easily closed above that level. It chose not to. The other troubling thing is we have no volume. Volume is just absolutely dissipated and we're still trending down. And that's a concern. I put trend lines on everything for those that are asking, but you see that trend line right there? So our volume's falling off a cliff. We know we're going into New Year's. We know people have thrown in the towel. Well, if we know we're going into New Year's, we know people have thrown in the towel, and we know that all these red bars are significantly greater than all the green buying bars. How in the world can something like a Tesla go up? Rotation. That's how. What we have here is a market that is selling down, but not selling down because certain names are selling down. They're all selling down, and they're all taking their time. Take a look at the SOX today and how the SOX made a lower low. And you can see how it fits right in that particular level right here, right? Now, if you don't hold here, and frankly, I don't think you're going to hold here, and this rolls, you can see pressure coming into the market. You need NVIDIA to drop today, and this still does obviously look awful. We had other names that came in. We are seeing constant rotation on the sell side. If you take a look at Micron and just look at that and look how ugly that close is, and realize that you've only had one close that's actually been uglier in September. That is a complete, utter reversal. So there are ways that we can continue to go down without something like a Tesla dropping. Now, mRNA, you can see this really clear, these rallies. So if other sectors start imploding, it doesn't have to just be the leaders. And if we really want to just get into the leaders, and you look at what's going on with Apple, and caveat, this was something that we were short for a long period of time, and I'm still carrying a short on. I've been talking about this head and shoulders 4 weeks now. But you see this trend line? Okay, right here, these trend lines, boom, broke, retest. The Nasdaq can come in and Tesla can go flat to have a short covering rally. It's very feasible. While we're on the topic, I'm looking for about 123. I'm not sure we're going to get there or not. We're obviously going to see how the week plays out. You have a lot of, you have a pretty big gamma wall at 125 on the options. But so you can see this level pretty clean right in here, right? You can see how we broke. You can see this nasty H, the retest. So it's possible that these other sectors go down. Now, here's where it gets even weirder. We're watching the percentage of stocks on the 5-day average. So in other words, stocks that are in the SP 500 that are above the 5-day average. We're back to a 70. Okay? The market's making lows and we're back to a 70. What's going to happen when this rolls again? Okay? And it's setting up to roll again, as you can note right here. We've been making lower highs on this. So the breadth is getting worse, right? So all this is telling you that the breadth is getting worse, and the charts themselves are clearly breaking. Look at the gap down we've never filled. Tried to rally, fails. The blue is 55. So we're seeing that rotation. I really like. As far as shorts, we were looking at this TAN. First Solar was one we did today. I don't think this is over. I don't think it's over. We came back to a support line. I don't see anything out there that's going to just remotely just stop us. And now you're starting to set up lower highs. Now, this is the 9, 22, and 55. And look at how we're wedged in here and how we're unable to get above any of that. And we can drop and Tesla still can go higher. That is feasible. And we are seeing this rotation everywhere. Make sure you are subscribed to the free newsletter. There's a link in description. I'm going to walk through these trades tomorrow, 3 bear funds that we actually are in already, and just walk through the levels. But let's just start and go through this right now so that you have something to work with. So if you just want to watch like 4660, see how we act, and you can see right in here how that 22 is pointing up, and we could run right into that 55 before you have any resistance. So there's still a trade there. SQQQ, this was one 48.50. We entered right on this line. Traded up, retest, pulls back, trades up again, retests the other support. Support and resistance has been the name of the game. And you can see we got through today, so now we're through the next level. So we're looking for 63.57. This can continue to push. We are up about $10 on this trade already, but there is room up here. This is not over, especially if you look at this chart. There is nothing redeeming. No one can look at this and find anything and go, "Oh, good. I can't wait for this to. I can't wait to buy. I can't wait to buy tomorrow." Like you're not going to look at that and think that way. Of course, anything could happen. We can always gap up, right? We've done it in the past where it looks like you're going to break and go down, and then the next minute you reverse. or you close at a low and then the next day you reverse. It's constant, and of course it can happen. I don't know the economic data or the volume that's going to come in tomorrow to save this market. SPXS now. This is our technical pivot area, was right here when we flipped. Ran right into that 55. Of course, there's the retest. Fails over the 55, fails, fails. Guess what we did today? Closed over the 55. Just because you're not first on this does not mean that they're still not meeting these trades. So what you're really going to see is how this acts at that 24.87. Two things you should take away from this. Number one, Tesla can bounce. It's due. Right? This was an enormous move in a very short period of time. If you just take a look at this quarterly move, you're down 63% in a quarter. There's some kind of bounce. I'm not saying it's going to fix itself, but there is some kind of bounce, some kind of reversion to the mean. And the mean is usually the 20 or the 21 line. So there is some kind of bounce out there that we are due for. Take that into account. The second thing, technically, this is completely broken. There is nothing redeeming about this. We have broken the upper trend line. We have broken the lower trend line. We have broken our wedge. We have broken support, and we are rolling. We retested and failed and made a lower low. That's it. We have a 2-year close. We have an S&P that's at a 2-month low close. Join Alpha Chasers. Simply click up here in the top right, and you will be added to the wait list. Enrollment's currently closed, and it's wait list only. Everybody have a great evening.